Good morning, friends. Today we are going to begin a new lesson in chemistry. Chapter number 2 is matter around us pure. Now, if you see the matter around us, yes, we have got different types of products around us. Then, what is the consideration in purity? What do we mean if it is pure? Now, the water that we drink, it contains some dust particles, then it has to be clean, it has to be made pure before drinking. Yes, so when we talk of water, we say pure water, or we use the word pure gold. Yes, when is gold said to be pure? Pure gold. So, what is the meaning of the word pure? Now, we are going to understand substances and purity according to what chemistry has to say. So, let us begin with purity. Now, for a common person, like I just said, pure means having no adulteration, means no impurity is mixed. No adulteration means there is no impurity. Like I said, pure gold. Pure gold is 24 karat gold. But we know that we do not make ornaments of 24 karat gold because it is very soft and can break easily. So we use 22 karat gold to give a little strength to the ornaments that we wear. But pure gold is 24 karat. In the same way I talk about pure water. So for a common person, pure means what? Having no impurity or no adulteration. But for a scientist, all these things are actually mixtures. Okay, they are mixtures and hence they cannot consider it pure. For example, now we use pure water, we say pure milk, like cow milk without any adulteration, pure milk. But milk is actually what? For a person drinking milk, when there is no water in the milk, they say the milk is pure or pure butter. But milk is not actually considered pure in chemistry because it is a mixture. So what does milk have? Milk has water, fat, proteins. So all these things inside we cannot say that it is pure. Okay? So milk is actually a mixture of water, fat and protein. So mixture, we are not considering it pure. So when a scientist says something is pure, it would mean that all the constituent particles of the substance are in the same chemical nature. Means throughout the whole substance, the chemical nature of all the particles inside remain the same. Now you can see water, fats, proteins. Chemically they all are different. So because water, fats and proteins are different, it's a mixture and it is not pure. A pure substance is in which substances are same in their chemical nature. So a pure substance should consist of a single type of particles which are chemically the same. So substance is a pure single form of matter. So when we use the word pure in chemistry, we mean the word single, made of the same type of particles having the same chemical nature. Now we have learned what are elements, compounds and mixtures. Yes, in your previous classes you have learned element, compound and mixtures. So now we are going to go into little detail. A pure substance is a homogeneous material. What is the meaning of the word homogeneous? We'll do later in this lecture. But a pure substance is a homogeneous material with definite, means the properties are fixed, invariable, means the properties do not change, chemical composition and physical and chemical properties. This is the definition of a pure substance. It's a homogeneous material with definite, invariable. Definite means fixed. Like the same word, invariable means it does not change. Chemical composition means chemically the composition means what? The number of particles inside are sort of fixed. Right? And the physical and chemical properties also are fixed. A pure substance consists of only one type of atoms or molecules. Now here you will have to revise the definition of atoms and molecules. What are atoms? Atoms are the smallest particles of an element, and molecules are also the smallest particles of a compound. So what is a compound? It is a substance made up of one or more substances in a fixed ratio by mass or by weight, we say, or by volume. So you should know what are atoms and molecules. So atoms are the smallest particle of an element. So element contains only one type of particles, that is the atoms. If you look at pure iron, then all the particles of iron are pure atoms of iron. The properties of all the atoms will remain the same. If you take copper, then all the particles of copper are copper atoms, and the properties, physical and chemical properties of all the particles will remain the same. So element is a pure substance which is made up of atoms. Now when you talk about molecules, say water. If you talk only of water, then water is a compound made up of two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen, H2O. But all the molecules of water will be same in physical and chemical properties. So you can talk about the other elements also: sodium, potassium, nitrogen, hydrogen, chlorine, boron. What happens is all the particles of the element are the same in physical and chemical properties, and the molecules are the particles of a compound, but they are also the same because they are made up of the same type of atoms and in the same number. For example, H2O. Wherever in the world you will go, water has only got one formula, H2O, means the molecule of water contains two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. So, based on the chemical composition, pure substances are classified into elements and compounds. That is what I just talked about. Okay, so those are pure substances. Now, impure substances are mixtures of two or more elements. Now, when you add two or more elements, for example, you add element what say hydrogen and oxygen, but when the ratio of them keeps on changing, then you cannot call it pure. Water is H2O. For two hydrogens of atom, there is only one oxygen atom. Yes, so two hydrogen atoms combined with only one oxygen atom and you get water. But when it varies, keeps on varying. So when you add two or more elements, compounds or both, you can add elements to elements or elements to compound or compound to compound with different compositions and properties, then it forms an impure substance. So when this chemical composition of the element and element, compound and compound, element and compound keeps on varying, we say it is an impure substance. So you can see the chart here, matter is made up of two, which you consider pure substance and impure substances. Now elements we consider pure because they are only made up of one type of atom. So we got metal, sodium. Sodium metal, all the particles of sodium metal are sodium atoms and they have got the same chemical and physical properties. Similarly, copper and iron, these are metals but all these are elements because copper is made up of copper atoms, iron of iron atoms and sodium of sodium atoms. Non-metals we have got oxygen, carbon, chlorine, and the metalloids or the semi-metals we have got arsenic, germanium. Okay, so these are the different types of elements. Then we have got compounds. Compounds are two or more substances in a fixed ratio by weight. So we have got compounds. Now compounds are also pure because the chemical and physical composition remains the same. Physical composition may change with temperature, but the chemical composition remains the same. And I give the example again, the example of water, H2O. One molecule of water will always contain two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. Now the impure substances are called mixtures, which are of two types, homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. We'll see in a second what is a homogeneous mixture and a heterogeneous mixture, but understand what is a mixture. A mixture is impure because you can add elements to elements, elements to compounds or two or more, but in a different variation. So when that is done, we consider it to be impure substance. So now we are going to talk about mixtures today. So mixtures are considered by more than one kind of pure form of matter known as substance. Okay? A substance cannot be separated into any kinds of matter by physical process. Now the substance which we are going to use to make the mixture, what are we talking about just now? When we add two or more substances, we can make a mixture. But a substance itself cannot be separated by any physical process. For example, H2O is a substance. If you heat water, it will turn into steam. If you keep on heating the steam, it turns into superheated steam. But at no point will the heat separate the hydrogen and the oxygen. The H2O will remain in the same chemical composition. So even if you make the water very hot, it becomes superheated steam, but the hydrogen and oxygen will never be separated. So a substance cannot be separated by physical process like hammering, heating, etc. Okay, and whatever the source of the substance, no matter from where you get the substance, it will always have the same characteristic properties. So remember, a substance always has got the same characteristic properties. But now when we add two or more substances, when we add a lot of substances in variable amount, what we get is a mixture. So the definition of mixture would be, it is a substance in which two or more substances, that is element or compound, are simply mixed together in any proportion. The proportion does not remain fixed. The proportion can change. For example, if you are making say nimbu pani, how do you make nimbu pani? You add water, you add the lemon juice, you add a little salt and a little sugar, and you might put a little pepper inside. Okay, depends on how you make the limbu pani. Basically, you use water, sugar, salt, and lemon juice. But this substance you can keep on varying. You can keep the water less and lemon juice more, or water more and lemon juice less. You can add more salt and less sugar, or less sugar and more salt. Since you are varying the substance is here, it is not a compound because the properties are not remaining the same, it is a kind of mixture. While making nimbu pani, you can vary the amount of materials you add. You can add more sugar or less sugar. The same for tea. When you are making tea, you can add more spoons of sugar or less spoons. So tea is also a kind of mixture. Okay? So we are going to see the mixtures now. Now the properties are of mixture. In this, the materials you are adding are not chemically combined together. Not chemically combined together means, like I give the example of nimbu pani. When you make the nimbu pani, you will find the taste of lemon juice, salt and sugar in the nimbu pani. You are adding everything together. You added the lemon juice, you added the sugar, you added the salt. But when you drink it, you will feel the taste of sugar also, the sweetness, the lemon juice also, the sourness, and the saltiness of the salt also. So you are adding them together and the taste of them will get a mix. You will get a separate taste, but they are not combined chemically. Okay, there is not a mixture which gives you a single taste. It does not chemically combine. The properties of each substance are retained. So we can say they retain their original properties. And you can separate it by a physical process. So mixtures can be separated by a physical process. So if you got say wheat, okay, now it is the time, the season, the summer season, we buy wheat, but we separate the stones from the wheat. Now stones are black in color and wheat is brown, so we can easily see the difference and we can separate by physical method called hand picking. When there is mud inside the water, you can use a filter paper and filter the mud from the water. So mud and water makes a mixture and you can separate by filtration. If there is iron mixed with sulfur, then with the help of a magnet you can separate the iron from the sulfur. Now iron and sulfur are mixed together, but it is a mixture because iron has not lost its properties and sulfur has not lost its properties. They both retain their own properties. So when you take a magnet near the mixture, all the iron particles will stick to the magnet. If you put iron disulfide in the mixture, then the sulfur will dissolve in the iron disulfide. So these all are physical properties, and the mixtures can be separated by physical properties. So what is the properties of mixture? They do not chemically combine, the constituents retain their original properties, and the constituents can be separated by using a physical process. Now we talk about type of mixtures: homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. Now I will tell you what is the difference between the two. We use the word homogeneous mixture, a mixture which has uniform composition properties. Uniform means same. Composition and its properties throughout its mass. Everywhere it is the same. It is called a homogeneous mixture. For example, sugar solutions, salt solutions are all homogeneous mixture. Now what does it mean same throughout the mass? For example, say you have made cold coffee. Okay? Now when you make cold coffee, what happens? If you do not dissolve the complete, if you do not stir it well, the coffee will not be dissolved completely. So if you drink the coffee from the top and with a straw you drink coffee from the bottom, then the bottom coffee will be more strong because the coffee is not dissolved totally. But in limbu pani, when you dissolve it completely, if you make limbu pani very nicely, stir it properly, that all the sugar is dissolved. Now, if you take a spoon and drink limbu pani from the top, or take a straw and drink limbu pani from the bottom, the taste and the properties of everything will remain the same. So when a mixture has uniform composition properties throughout its mass and throughout the whole bulk, from wherever you take, if it remains the same, it's a homogeneous mixture. Another example you can give is vanilla ice cream. If you eat vanilla ice cream, it is pure and plain everywhere. So the vanilla ice cream you can say is a homogeneous mixture. Okay, why I said vanilla? Because if you eat kaju draksh, then in some places the kaju is more and some places the kaju is less. So there is a difference. It is not same throughout the bulk. Vanilla ice cream is same throughout the bulk. Whether you eat it from the top or from the middle or from the bottom, the mixture is same throughout the bulk. So such a solution is called, mixture is called homogeneous mixture. A heterogeneous mixture has different composition and properties in different parts of the mass. For example, I'll give you, if you make the Ruafza drink, or you know the rose drink Ruafza with milk, you stir it up nicely and then you leave it for some time. You will see the Ruafza start settling at the bottom of the milk. Okay, the pink color is still there. Now, if you drink the milk from the top with a spoon, you will find the taste of Ruafza. But if you drink with a straw from the bottom, you will find it stronger Ruafza and less of milk. So there is a change in the taste at the top and the bottom. Means the properties throughout the bulk are not the same. When the properties throughout the bulk are not the same, it is called a heterogeneous mixture. Means the properties are not the same throughout the bulk. The examples are sand mixed with water. Sorry, sand mixed with salt. Now when you put sand and salt together, then some places the salt will be more, some places the sand will be more. If you put sugar in oil, the sugar will settle down. On the top there will be oil and bottom there will be sugar. Even colloids, the milk in water, is an example of heterogeneous mixture. So what is a homogeneous mixture? A mixture in which the properties remain same throughout the bulk is called a homogeneous mixture, and a mixture in which the properties are not same throughout the bulk is called a heterogeneous mixture. Now we go to the solution. So in mixtures we have got different type of mixtures. The first is a solution. So we have got three: a solution, a colloid and a suspension. We'll compare all the three later during the other lectures. We'll compare them all, but now we'll attend them one by one. So what we have started with, again a little revision. We started with matter, pure matter and impure matter. In pure matter we got elements and compounds. In impure we got mixtures. In mixtures we learn the homogeneous mixture and the heterogeneous mixture. Now, one type of mixture is called solution. Now, a solution is a homogeneous mixture, means remains same throughout the bulk. So, a mixture of two or more substances, chemically non-reacting, they don't react. Okay, but whose composition can be varied. For example, you take say 6 glasses of water, fill it the same amount, take 6 glasses of water, fill with the same amount of water and add sugar. In one you add 1 spoon, in another you add 2 spoon, in another 3 spoon, 4 and add and stir it. The taste of all will be different because though the water has remained the same, the amount of sugar has differed. So it is called a varied within limits. Okay, certain limit it's called a solution. So now I give the example of sugar and water because it is mentioned here, sugar and water. So what is sugar here? Sugar is the solute, means it is the substance which gets dissolved. So sugar gets dissolved in the water, so sugar is the solute while water is the solvent. It is in which the solute gets dissolved. So substance which get dissolved in a solvent is called a solute. A substance in which a solute gets dissolved is called a solvent. So when you take sugar solution, when you make sugar solution, you have got two things, sugar and water. Because the sugar dissolves in the water, sugar is the solute and water is the solvent. Remember, the substance which gets dissolved. If you take salt and water, then salt is the solute and water is the solvent. So to remember, the substance which gets dissolved is the solute and in which the solute gets dissolved is called the solvent. Okay, so solution is made up of two things, a solute and a solvent. It can be more than that also, you can add more solutes. For example, you can add salt, sugar and water. Then salt and water, salt and sugar are the solutes and water is the solvent. So now, what is a solution? We took here sugar and water. Sugar is solid and water is liquid. But we can either have a solid, okay, we can take the solution as a liquid which has got a solid, for example sugar, liquid for example say milk, or gas for example say carbon dioxide. But there are also solid solutions called alloys. What is the alloy? It is a mixture of solid in solid. Now you must be thinking, how do we mix solid with solid? And we know air is a gaseous solution, gas in gas. How do we know? By test. Air contains 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.044% carbon dioxide and other gases also, which makes it a solution of gas in gas. While alloy is a solution of solid in solid, we'll talk about alloys later. So, in a solution, there is homogeneity at the particle level, means it remains same throughout the bulk. Now, lemonade, I talked about limbu pani means lemonade. It tastes the same throughout. So, the particles of sugar and salt are evenly distributed. Like I told you, when you drink limbu pani, yes, if you drink it from the top with a spoon or from the bottom with a straw, the taste of the sugar and the salt will be the same throughout the bulk. So that lemonade is a what? It's a solution made up of two solutes, sugar and salt, and even the okay. Now let us see this in lemonade, that is limbu pani. There are not two solutes, but there are three solutes. Sugar is the solute, salt is the solute, and even lemon juice is the solute. It is the liquid solute. And water is the solvent. Why? Because everything dissolves in the water. Because the lemon juice, because the sugar, because the salt dissolves in the water, water is the solvent and those three are the solutes. Remember. So sugar and salt are solid solutes, while lemon juice is the liquid solute. And water is the solvent because everything dissolves in water. Now what are alloys? Alloy is a mixture of two or more metals or a metal and a non-metal. Okay, so it is a mixture of metals and metals or metals and non-metals and cannot be separated by physical methods. You cannot separate it by physical methods. But why it is still called a mixture and not a compound? Because it shows the properties of its constituents and can have variable composition. This is very important, the variable composition. Now brass is an alloy because it is made up of almost 30% zinc and 70% copper. Okay, but while you make brass, brass has to be made 30% zinc, 70% copper. So if you want proper brass, you should maintain this ratio. But sometimes while the mixing, something will become more or less. So brass is not pure because it can keep on varying. Now one important use of alloy, let us discuss the rockets which go into space. Yes, the rockets which go into space. Now, when the rocket is fired, the amount of the heat coming out from the rocket, the fire behind, is up to 6000 degree Celsius or around 6000 Kelvin. Now that heat is very very high, it can melt even the strongest of metals. Yes, then how come the rocket does not melt? So the rockets are made up of special alloys. Now how these alloys are made? Even stainless steel is an alloy, even steel is an alloy. So the metal, the iron is first heated and melted, chromium is melted, and then the molten part is mixed in the proper amount, given the shape and then allowed to cool. Because you can see when the rocket is fired, even the high amount of heat cannot melt that metal. So once the metal becomes hard, you cannot heat it to give it any shape. So the shape has to be given in advance only. So alloys, those mixtures whose properties, chemical properties are changing, but we still consider a mixture because they are in a variable composition and the properties of the constituents still remain. Now, like we talked about, sugar in water is a solid in liquid solution, where sugar is the solute and water is the solvent. A solution of iodine alcohol known as a tincture of iodine has got iodine solid as the solute and alcohol is the solvent. Now the drinks that we have, the aerated drinks, the soda water, the thumbs up, Coca-Cola and all are gas in liquid solutions. They contain carbon dioxide gas which dissolves in the solute. So here gas is the solute and water is the liquid in which it is dissolved. Air is a mixture of gas in gas. It contains, I told you, 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen and other gases in small quantities. Now we consider a mixture because it keeps on varying. So it's a homogeneous mixture because air is almost made up of this, but it is not actually true, because if you go around Victoria Park, the Himalaya Mall Road, because there are a lot of trees there, the carbon dioxide from the vehicles get converted into oxygen. So the air there, in the winters you will find cold in that belt. And if you go to Rupam Chowk, yes, the Goga Gate we say, Rupam Chowk, there are not many trees around. So all the vehicles and all the carbon dioxide is concentrated, so the heat is trapped there. So you will find the difference in the air around different places, but the general composition is the same. So we called air as a homogeneous mixture. Now look at the properties of the solution. A solution is a homogeneous mixture, means remains the same throughout the bulk. The particles of a solution are less than 1 nanometer in diameter, means 10 raised to minus 9 meter. They cannot be seen with naked eyes. Okay. How do we understand this? When you take sugar, can you see sugar? Yes, you can easily see sugar, the piece of sugar. When you put in the water and start to stir the water, dissolve it, then the sugar breaks down into very small particles and now mixes with the water. Before you mix sugar with the water was transparent. After you mix sugar in the water is still transparent. Means you cannot see the sugar anywhere now. They are so small in size that they cannot be seen with the naked eye. But when you taste the water, it will be sweet because of the sugar. But you will not be able to see the sugar. The particles are very very small. Okay, so the particles of solution are smaller than 1 nanometer in diameter. Now because of the very small size, they do not scatter a beam of light. Now, what is scattering of a beam of light we'll do later on, but just for your sake to say, If you take a glass of water and pass a laser light through it, it goes straight. Now if you dissolve the sugar and then pass the laser light, it will still go straight, it will not bend at all. It will not go in any other direction, there will be no scattering because the particles are very, very small. And the path of light is not visible in the solution. Now, what is the meaning of path of light is not visible in the solution? If you've gone to weddings or DJ parties or sandhyas like that, you will see there are laser lights moving around. Yes, the spotlights are moving around. Now when a light is thrown somewhere, say on the wall, you will see the spot of light on the wall, but you will not see the beam of light. So in discotheques and everywhere, how do they show the beam of light? They use a fogger. Fogger is a smoke. So when you put the smoke around, then you can see the beam of light. Now the smoke particles are not small in size, they are slightly bigger in size, so they will scatter the light and hence you can see the path of light. In pure air you cannot see the path of light, but in the smoke you can see the path of light because the small particles are big. So this solution particles do not scatter a beam of light. Now the solute particles cannot be separated from the mixture by the process of filtration. Yes, you cannot do that. Nor do the particles settle down. So if you have dissolved sugar in water and you keep it for a long time, the sugar will not settle down. If you pass the sugar solution through a filter paper, the sugar will not stay behind. The particles are so small they are dissolved completely with the liquid. Now like we know, liquid has got intermolecular spaces. So this solute which dissolves becomes so small and they fill up the intermolecular spaces. So they cannot be separated by filtration, nor do they settle down. Sedimentation and decantation is also not possible. So even when undisturbed, when you keep it for a long time, the solution is still stable. So these are the properties of solution. Homogeneous mixture, particles of solution smaller than 1 nanometer in diameter, do not scatter a beam of light, cannot be separated by filtration, and do not settle down when left undisturbed. Okay, now solution we have got two types, a saturated solution and an unsaturated solution. At a particular temperature, a solution that is dissolved as much as capable, it's said to be a saturated solution. Means once a solution is saturated, no more solute can be dissolved in a solution. Now there are many factors into play here. Okay, I'll give you an example. Again the same example I give you, take a glass of water. Means the amount of water you take should be fixed now. A glass of water, you put some sugar inside, stir it well, and you will find all the sugar has dissolved because like I told you, the sugar particles, the small particles has taken the intermolecular spaces in the water. Add one more spoon of sugar, stir it. You might find it dissolves. Add one more spoon of sugar and stir it. Now when you keep on adding, you will reach a point that no matter how much you stir, no more sugar can be dissolved in the water now. Because all the intermolecular spaces of the water has been filled by the sugar particles. So no more sugar particles can now dissolve in the water. At that time we can say that it has become a saturated solution. Okay, so at this temperature it is called the solubility. At room temperature, how much sugar you can dissolve, but here you can see the difference. If I take more water, I can dissolve more sugar, right? So by increasing the amount of solvent, I can dissolve more sugar, so that changes, but the spaces, intermolecular spaces in the liquid does not change. So it is a saturated solution. But when it is less than the saturation level, it is called an unsaturated solution. So when you add only 1 spoon of sugar, it is unsaturated. Why? Because you can add more sugar. So as long as you can keep adding the sugar, it is an unsaturated solution. When no more sugar can be added, it is called a saturated solution. So if the sugar solution has become saturated, can you think we can add more sugar to that solution? Now I give you the reason. The intermolecular spaces in the water has been completely filled by the sugar particles. So if I want to add more sugar, I should increase the space between the water particles. Okay, this intermolecular spaces of water has to be increased. How can I do that? One way of doing it is by heating the liquid. So when you heat the liquid, matter expands on heating. So the molecules become far apart. Because the molecules become far apart, you can now add more sugar. So in the gulab jamun, the chasni that we make is made by making the water hot. By making water hot, you can add more sugar. So now you will find it becomes a thick sugary liquid. We call it chasni in Gujarati. The thick sugary liquid, sugar syrup is what makes. So when we make rasna at home and everything, we first heat the water. Why do we heat the water? To add more sugar to it. So this is called a super saturated solution. A saturated solution means when you cannot add sugar, but when you heat it, you can add more sugar. So this is called a super saturated solution. So when you can still add more sugar, it is unsaturated. Once it reaches the level at a certain temperature, it is called saturated. But on heating, when you add more sugar, it is called super saturated. Now the second thing we have is concentrated and dilute. Okay, first of all, we also see the properties of a solution depend upon the nature of the solute, that is the material which we are going to dissolve, and the nature of the solvent, the medium in which we are going to dissolve, and also on the proportion of the dissolved solute, how much sugar we have used. Now when you use a high quantity of solute, then it is called a concentrated solution. Means you take less water but more sugar. Less water and more sugar will make it concentrated solution. Less sugar and more water will make it a dilute solution. Another example, you take ruafza and milk or rasna and water, ruafza and milk, okay? You take less milk and more ruafza, then the taste is very sweet, it is concentrated solution. Take more milk and less ruafza, you get a dilute solution. So concentrated solution is in which the solute is more and the solvent is less, and the dilute solution in which the solute is less and the solvent is more. So here we have understood solution. Further in the lecture we are going to do next is now, in the next lecture, the concentration of a solution and how to use the mathematics to find out the concentration of a solution. So concentration of the solution in numericals we are going to do in the next lecture. So this is only theoretically based. I wanted to repeat the lecture once again, and there are so many definitions in this lecture. I wanted to write down them all in the fair book and learn it well. Okay? So we end here. Thank you.